Welcome to another episode of Under the Barbell Strength podcast. I'm your host, Colton Haynes, and if this is your first time tuning in, we'd love for you to follow and subscribe. Feel free to leave us a comment with any questions or topics you'd like for us to cover. The purpose of this podcast is both educational and an opportunity to showcase some incredible coaches I've had the privilege to meet throughout my journey in the strength and conditioning world. I think listeners will enjoy the diverse range of guests who will share their experiences in coaching, enhancing athletic performance, nutritional strategies, speed training, and exploring the mentality of being a strength coach. By uncovering the weight room philosophies and strategies that make these strength coaches successful, you'll gain valuable principles to elevate your own team's performance. So join us as we grow together one conversation at a time. Joining us today is Coach Jared Heumann of University of Texas at Permian Basin. Jared is a graduate of Bryant University. After he graduated, he interned at Bingham University. Jared started as an assistant strength coach at Shippensburg University and is now the director of strength and conditioning at UTPB. Jared holds certifications of a CSCS and USAW. Welcome to the show, Coach.
I appreciate you having me. Again, like what we talked a little bit before, it's downtime right now, so it's kind of perfect time as well before, again, the chaos starts.
Yeah, it's about to get busy in the off season. When do y'all start?
So we will start, truly, I'm going to say the first lift start December 20th when it comes to football. Of course, basketballs are here. Baseball's about to start up. Baseball and softball will start up on Friday. So just slowly kind of just continue. Swim's here as well. Tennis starts up back up next week as well. So we're just slowly on the climb. The week of the 20th, though, of January is when everything will be back.
Yeah, that's when it gets fun, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us about your background and how you became a college strength coach.
Yeah, so I can say it's the cliche version. I feel like every strength coach was an athlete at one point. Went to play college football, got injured. Let's just say I was not a great kid, so kind of messed up my own recruiting process. But, I got to live from that, learn from that. And then from there, I got injured my freshman year. Kind of just at that time, kind of just let myself go enjoy my college. What I mean by that, kind of self-destructed a little bit. So, to be honest, I kind of failed out of school my freshman year after I got hurt. I was just checked out, enjoyed partying. After that, I knew I wanted to kind of just be either in athletic training, strength and conditioning, either physical therapy. I didn't know. Like my degree path, my freshman year was become a history teacher. Like play football, be a history teacher, and be a football coach at a high school. Well, that got diverted, so I kind of took a year, kind of figure out what I wanted to do. Shadowed at all different programs, enrolled at Bryant University, like what I said, where I graduated from, in exercise science. And then kind of shadowed at PT clinics, ATs. None of those really kind of sparked me and kind of juiced me up. Then from there, shadowed strength and conditioning, went to University of Buffalo, looked at Don Day when he was there at University of Buffalo. Right when the football team entered in for lift, I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So from there, it's kind of just asking, like, hey, how do you get into this? I'm a year into my undergrad. Like, I had nothing idea. They said experience, experience, experience. Right after that, I was going to online school so I could pay through work as well, make money. So living in Binghamton, New York, they have a small Division I school in the American East Conference. Reached out to Coach McGovern. I'm like, hey, do you guys have interns? They was like, yeah, come by on like a Wednesday or something like that. I think it was in March when I started. And he's like, why do you want to do this? I'm like, I'm just interested. He's like, cool. We can always take the help. From there, I was kind of like the quote-unquote fly on the wall intern. And they realized I was really into it. So they said, hey, be comfortable, start coaching. I learned a lot. Then that next semester, I came back. Then I came back again. So I interned from my entire undergrad when I first started. So after my first year all the way through. So when I ended my internship, it kind of was like a glorified an assistant at that time. So they kind of just let me, like I had heavyweight wrestling, volleyball, helped out with other sports teams, kind of worked with everything. But they let me free go at times, like teaching intros when it came freshmen in. So at that time, like they're like, hey, like you did your stuff, so like we're gonna give you a little bit of free reign. From there, COVID hit, and then went to Shippensburg University as an assistant. Was there during COVID. I was there for 8 months. Knew I needed to get a master's degree in kind of GA-ship, so I applied for everywhere and anywhere. Got a call from University of Texas Permian Basin literally 5 years ago, and then so right now it's at my 5-year mark of me being here. Started as a GA. After that, I was a GA for a semester. Then I was a full-time assistant for a year and a half, and then after that, got the head job, and then turned into a director last August.
Let's go. That's awesome. So, was there any point in your career path that made you think, "Well, I can be a strength coach. This is a career for me that I could stick around and keep doing this"? Was there a
Honestly, I think it was the point when I think it was maybe my second or third semester at Binghamton. One of the coaches got sick, and they looked at me and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna just throw you in the fire. Like you're taking all of our sports teams. Like, yeah, we're gonna be there, but we want to see how you man it." And she was sick for I think 4 to 6 weeks. And then at that point, I'm like, I'm stressed out. Like I got school, I'm working part time. Like I'm trying to make do with as much as I possibly can. I'm like, yeah, I accept the challenge. From there, probably after the first week, once my nerves kind of just settled down, I'm like, this is truly what I want to do. And then from there, it was just I never looked back.
got you? So, what has been the most significant learning moment that a player or coach has taught you?
Learning moment is always be adaptive, adapt on the fly constantly. Kind of be like that Swiss Army knife. Like if
Nothing
we're
ever
not
goes
like that,
planned, huh?
yeah, like it's great. Like I got football stuff in the off season right there, kind of already written out. But I understand that thing can change, and I'm about to put it all into Excel coming up pretty soon. But I know I gotta be able to adapt on that. I already changed that probably like 8 times already. I'm probably gonna change it again before I even put it in. So it's just always adapting, always talking to the sports coaches, kind of figure out the needs of the team and what the goal is, and go from there. Because again, we could have completely two different philosophies of what our goal is for an off season. But again, we got to make sure that I educate the coaches why I believe this, but then also they're gonna say, hey, like I'm gonna want this in it. Cool. I'm just gonna have to adapt and work with that.
Yeah, and everyone thinks being a strength coach is always, fun and, you know, very surface level is what they know. So tell me about any challenging moments you've had in your coaching career and how you overcame it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like the challenging moments, I think it's always those hard conversations with coaches when it comes to with disagreements. Because no matter what, there's going to be disagreements that's going to happen at times. So from that, it's just learning how to communicate the right way. I think over the years since I've been in, the learning how to communicate with coaches, if they come in, they're not happy with certain things, be like, hey, let's adapt. What's your needs and everything like that. Like learning from their mindset as well, but then also being able to educate them, be like, hey, we got to do this way because of that. And most of the time, it's just they're like, "Cool, I trust you." So that it's the constant communication at all times. I feel like is the most important thing, but it's also continuing to learn because again, how you communicate with one person, you can't communicate with the other.
For sure. And I was going to ask, how do you build that trust and rapport with everybody? For me, I feel like it's always, being available, going to their practices, showing them that you care, and having that open door policy. And then you can always build coming off of that. How do you do that at Permian Basin?
Honestly, I think it's just I'm blunt, I'm honest, I'm from New York. I mean, people think I'm probably mean at times, I'm harsh. I don't mean to come off that way. But like my open end policy of I'm always going to be upfront with you and blatantly honest, and no matter what, this is just how it's going to be. I think it has the coaches to trust me a little bit more. Be like, I respect the fact of how honest you are. Like, you're not going to kind of sugarcoat something. Like, if things aren't going well, you're going to tell me. If things are going great, you're going to tell me. You're not going to kind of just beat around the bush. So I think it's just the fact of just being honest. And no matter what, it's going to take time.
For
And it's
sure.
just being patient with it.
Now, does that change from a female athlete to a male athlete?
Honestly, I'm blatantly honest with like when it comes to like the two sports teams I work with, football and women's basketball. I got no filter with both of them. They look at me
Yeah,
crazy, women's basketball, all that stuff, but the girls know like human. Like best way to describe how I am, they say human's human. Like that's how it is. Football, they look at me like humans a little crazy at times. It's a way of, but it's understanding like I'm act this way not because I want to be hard on you guys. It's because of how much I care about you as an individual. And at times when I first started, they're like, "You're so hard on me. Why?" And then me opening up about how I grew up, the stories and everything, especially on the athlete side, they're like, "Oh, I can actually relate to coach." So then it's coming from that side and be like, it's a tough love aspect and understand like no matter what your days of being an athlete is going to be done and over with, can you contribute to society? Can you be a successful adult? And if I teach you one thing, I did my job.
I like that. That's good. And so, On the other end of it, there's always going to be challenges and setbacks. What strategies do you use as a strength coach to motivate these athletes when things aren't going their way? Or, you can answer later on down, but when things are going their way, like how do you keep them at bay and at a constant level?
I think the hardest thing, what I've realized, is when things aren't going well with the sports teams, losing happens, they slowly start checking out. And the first thing what they check out is like the weight room. I think it's just preparing them from the off season, like understanding like the preparation, what they put in before, and trusting you as a person. Um, like this year, again, we didn't have the year that we wanted. We all know that. It was back to the drawing boards. Like I tell the kids, like it's a stale taste on my mouth. Like I'm the strength coach. Like, do we have any availability or deal with anything with wins and losses? Not really. We're not calling plays or doing this. We're not doing the X and O's. If it's basketball, we're not dealing with that. The thing that we can do is care as much as what the coaches care about. And like you all, like we put in a lot of time with the athletes in the off season. We're around them more than most of the coaches are in the off season. So I'm here with you. I'm going through this with you. So your preparation in the off season kind of lead into how the in season is. So no matter what, if things don't go bad, cool. Hey, guess what? Short term memory. It's on to the next thing. No matter what, it's always just trying to go 1-0 at every single job, every single objective you do, and having that short term memory.
Now, do you have like a off season like word or something you build your program around? Like, what do you build your program around that the athletes can take on and know that hey, like this is what coach wants me to be like? What do you have?
Honestly, I think the like my biggest thing is one, I want to echo the message of the sports coaches, right? If their vision and if their philosophy is one way, I no matter what, whenever I see them, I gotta echo that same thing. So it's getting instilled into the culture. Now, of course, I'm gonna put my own kind of twist in it and all that stuff. And the biggest thing is like during the off season, kids are gonna be like, "Hey, squats are hard today. Life is hard though. Like you'll figure it out." Okay. Oh, I'm sore. Okay. Again, life is hard. Okay. You will figure everything out. Everything will get easier throughout time. So, like, I think I say life is hard probably too much in the off season. The kids look at me and they all like, yeah, I know it is. Cool. Do your set now.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. And so, how would you describe your coaching philosophy? Or and also, does it ever change?
When it comes to philosophy, as me as a person, when it comes to like how I act in the off in season, I'm gonna be honest. I kind of bring my reins back a little bit more. They're stressed out with their own competitive season practices, again, class, all this stuff. So like, I want to be that person that's there. Like, yeah, if you mess up, I'm gonna get on you, okay? But I'm not. Don't want to hound you and yell at you every single day. Like, we got work to get done, so that's where it's at. So like in season, I always tell them like, I'm not the nice guy, but like I'm the relaxing one. Okay, I'm gonna be a little bit more calm. Like I'm stressed out constantly during the seasons because I just care so much about how the athletes do and how they're performing. But it's honestly like my philosophy. Like I keep everything like our standards are standard no matter what. It doesn't matter if you mess up our standards. Guess what? I don't care if we have a game on a Saturday and we're lifting on a Friday. Like we're gonna have to handle those standards no matter what. Now I'm gonna make sure it's a smart way to do it. Make sure that you're not getting affected for the game. But I just understand no matter what, it's got to hold the standards, and especially what the coaches hold. Like if their coaches have those philosophy, again, we're extending of their staff. I got to echo what they are saying at all times. So like how I run the weight room at time, like in the off season, it's very militaristic. I'm calling every single set, whistle, and all that stuff. In season, I'm gonna lay it back and be like, hey, this is the workout today. We all know what it is. Let's get it through. Let's find it out.
Got you. And so, what would you say is a blueprint of your programming? What do you something that you want to make sure? Hey, we're doing this. We're every we're doing a push pull total body. Just kind of elaborate on your kind of programming.
Yeah, so it varies. So like women's basketball, we total body all throughout the year. When it comes to football in the off season, we go upper lower splits. And then in season we go total body. Uh, so it just varies every single time. And like when it comes to philosophies, I'm a sponge, so I'm gonna manipulate every little thing. Of course, like last off season, if I love one thing, yeah, I'm gonna add that back. But one thing, no matter what, isn't non-negotiable. Like we're sprinting. Like I love the speech. Like speed kills. We're being fast. Like when we run flies, hey, are you running under sub one? Like what is our standard? And this offseason, I kind of saw it. Like hey, our standard's like under 1 second. Like in the fly splits. Once you hit it, like it wasn't. It was the competitiveness of them talking. Hey, who's next? Who's next? but it wasn't like a bashing style. So truly, when it comes to
Yeah.
programming, it's sprinting all year round. But then, especially in the off season, when football, I'm bringing the lasers. Hey, who's breaking that 1 second? Especially when I build out the leads a little bit more, and then also like, hey, we're racing. Okay, you guys say you're the fastest with all of our GPS stuff and timers. Cool, you're on the line. You're reacting on the whistle. You're not trying to jump it. Of course, you know the kids are going to kind of cheat a little bit. You got to bring them back maybe 3, 4 times. Be like, hold up, wait a minute, and you got to kind of change up of how long until you blow your whistle on the set call, just to make sure. And then kids are gonna be like, "Oh, coach, you kind of just messed me up on that whistle." So I make fun. I try to have fun with it as much as I possibly can. But then, like again, off season, I go upper lower splits. Of course, I have demands. Like if we do stuff on the field, I got to match the same stimulus what we do in the weight room. In season, when it comes to football, you still go 4 times a week. It's quicker lifts. Okay, we kind of microdose style them here. We lift from Tuesday through Friday. We kind of say we do our meats and potatoes day on a Tuesday, so it's our squat and our bench day, total body stuff. Wednesday is kind of our rate of force development day, so big jumps, big cleans. Thursday, it's our active mobility day. Let's move around, kind of freshen up, and then Friday's our primer.
And you're doing all the speed work you said in season too, correct?
Yes, I am.
Got you. So you mentioned technology with the timing gates and everything. Just kind of talk about what you have available at your disposal at Permian Basin.
Yeah, so we got Fusion Sports timers. Uh, we did have Catapult this year for football, and women's soccer has Catapult. We're switching over to Stat Sports going into the spring. So we got GPS, we got Fusion timers, we got jump mats. I know a lot of people are throwing that into technology. I use a lot of that as kind of just readiness profiles. And then also we got velocity based training as well.
Got you. And you're using that again throughout the whole season, correct?
Yeah, whole
Fitting all
season we
the
use VBT. Anytime they're on the field, they're catapulted up. VBT again, I'm going to range on what downs we're going to use it. We use it heavy in season, off season. There's certain days that we'll use it. Timers again, I'm going to bring them out as much as I possibly can. Because again, like, hey, who's racing the clock? Who's the fastest that day?
Yep. And so, what about the nutrition situation? Is there anything that y'all do to help athletes with that?
Yeah, so since our head football coach, Coach McCullough, got here, the one thing that we did not have was true nutrition. It's kind of just every coach mans itself. So he went and raised money. We got a nutrition station that full on built in our weight room. So when you walk in, now it's for all student athletes, they'll always get a pre snack. So either some version of a honey stinger. Um, After that, post lift, they will always have a protein shake, mass gain. If you're a mass gain, normal protein, you always get a protein bar, you always get a fruit, you always get some granola bars. Kind of just variation, like Uncrustables as well. They're honestly with the Tron Nutrition Station since we've gotten it. This is the this was the first true in season that we had a nutrition station when we talk about football and working. We didn't see the guys who gained the weight in the off season lose the weight. So I'm like, cool, we got that, like, we got it down to almost to a science of what we need and all that stuff. Now it's just constantly building. So again, they're getting a pre-snack before. Uh, Always got hydration drinks, all this stuff. We got vitamins and all that stuff. And then so it's kind of just figuring out from there of what else we need, what else can we kind of just help the athletes as much as we possibly can.
So, if you're a strength coach looking to start a nutrition center or anything like that, what tips would you give them to do to help elevate their program?
Talk to other schools that have nutrition stations. Figure out how they do it, what they learned about their mistakes, all this stuff, so you can either make sure that hey, you don't do the same mistakes what they did, or also hey, what are some cheap options as well? Because again, like you don't want to. At times, yes, you have to expend the more expensive items for their overall nutrition, but there's other ways to go around. So it's always just when you talk to the protein people, they're always going to try to sell you on certain things. Well, guess what? There's probably another protein company that's exactly the same way, same everything, but hey, it's a little bit cheaper of an option. So it's always just, constantly adapting, constantly learning, and asking them, be like, hey, what did you learn if you were building one? Okay, or what are some avenues that you go through and all that stuff. So that's one thing that me and Coach McCullough did a lot. He said, well, call around. So I called around and asked anyone, like, hey, you got built, looked at over. He called around too, as well as his connections. So I think the nutrition station has been the best ad when it comes to our sports performance side.
And so, is there any metrics or other methods you use to track athletes' progress? Are you keeping a database of everybody's stuff, like a portfolio?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, like in Excel, I got pretty much. I say it's player profile stuff, uh, like all their names, all their testing numbers, all their jumps, all their reach, everything, kind of just all accumulated in one. Uh, Pretty soon, I'm gonna add into about their speed times as well, just so I can just go to one place and just look instead of just trying to decipher. So into the profile side. Of course, I don't have that great one that you click a button and it comes up their actual face. Down the road, that's kind of what I want to work on. So mine's more of a simplistic fashion, but I mean, I'm able to decipher it really quickly, so that's all that matters. So yeah, I kind of got a overall just player profile setting on each and every athlete. But at that time too, it's just being able to manipulate it on every single changes that's needed.
Yeah, and so what's your current staff look like?
Staff. So yeah, so right now it's me. I got a full time assistant and two GAs. When football's in, it's all hands on deck. And then when it comes to, of course, I dedicate their sports teams to their own. Like, yeah, GAs. First off, I'm gonna make you learn. I'm gonna do all this stuff. Like, we're gonna continue our education and everything. But I want them to learn. Like, you're a head coach of your own sports team, so go learn. Try different programs. Don't bounce around so much because we got to see what kind of change, what you liked, and all that stuff, but play around with it as much as you possibly can. And then full time assistant, like their job, hey, again, be right next to me and all that stuff. But then also your job is to again continue to grow the GAs because at times I'm gonna have staff meetings, I'm gonna have administrative meetings. There's gonna be at times that I'm not in here that you can help them continue to grow as well.
Nice. So, going back to programming, it's everyone's favorite thing to talk about. And again, just more insight would be good. So, how do you structure your training? Everyone talks about position specific, sport specific. Are you grouping up your, bigs and mids, your skill? Are they away from your big guys? How are you doing all that to be specific for the
So
position?
last off season I separated it all. This off season I'm in the mindset, and it's probably not the best mindset, but I want everyone to go through the same stuff together. Of
Hmm.
course, when we do running, your distances are going to be different, dedicated on your position. But in the weight room side, I more and more, especially I'm realizing, especially with the portal, there's a lot of kids that are coming in just detrained. The basics work at the end of the day. So we're coming to athletes detraining, especially we're going to have athletes that are been off for 6 to 7 weeks. Like most likely you're going to be a little detrained. I know you went home, said that you were working and all that stuff. So it's all about just making everything simplistic and building off of that. So when it comes to like a philosophy standard and all that stuff, again, like off season, we always go upper lower splits. Again, we always sprint. But this off season, I want the bigs, skills, and combos be doing the same weight room stuff. Okay. I'm going to push mobility. I'm going to push strength. I'm going to push overall just making sure that we're as strong as we possibly can. But then when we get on the field, yes, we're going to be track athletes. Like I want my bigs to be athletes. I'm bigs this year. I'm going to push them a little bit more when it comes to sprinting than I did last year. Skills and combos, I think I did a really great job with them. But guess what? I'm going to push you even more.
Good stuff. And so, as time goes on, not only in season but off season, athletes will get bored. Not that it's always a thing, but how do you keep them into it while training with intent?
Yeah. So I program everything out 3 weeks. So like I'm still old school. I do everything out of cards. I don't have team builder. So our 3 week cards, like of course you're gonna know our mains, meats and potato stuff. Like that's not gonna change. We'll always clean. We'll always snatch. We'll always bench, deadlift, squat, like all that stuff. You will know the days that we'll be doing it. But our accessories will be different every 3 weeks. Our reps ranges will be different when it comes to all of these exercises, each thing. Week to week, our reps will be different off undulation. So with them getting bored, I think it's the fact of just preaching it. Also, like my standard too in the weight room, like when we go from accessories, like I program the accessories that you can push the tempo on them. Yes, I want the accessories to be done in a controlled manner, an efficient manner, and perfect technique. But right after you're done, let's say with the dumbbell row, hey, cool, we're running to the next thing. Because let's push that conditioning. Let's build that intensity up. Let's build that competition. Because if you look at someone else that's not running and not pushing the pace, are you working as hard as them? So I want it as a controlled pace at one thing, well, because I don't want them just rushing through exercises because I need those exercises to be done efficiently and effectively. But when it comes in that downtime, like there's no break. Your break is once we're done with everything. During the main stuff, I will control everything by your work to rest ratio. During the accessories, I know you can push it And guess what? Can that next lift, can you push it a little bit more?
And at what point do y'all start doing, football specific stuff? Are you getting them out and running routes in the summer? Are they doing, 7-on-7? When does that come into play with your programming? Or is it
Yeah,
year round?
so like especially like this spring right now, I'm only going to be running them twice. Of course, whatever the coaches are doing with the rest of their care hours, that's that. Can't remember the days that they're doing it, but they're going to be doing some specific stuff with the coaches and everything like that. But with me, I'm pretty much like I got runs twice. Okay, of course we got the Friday like fourth quarter mat drill stuff, so that's going to be modified and everything by just them coming back. Hey, we're going to increase the intensity each and every week, and then also like Tuesdays our top speed day. Like that's our fast day. Um, so it's kind of just building out. But then once we get later into the summer, I run them 4 times a week. We do change direction pretty much every single day. After that, they will always go player led, indie work, player led, 7-on-7 stuff. It's just kind of whatever we structure, whatever matches the stimulus. Be like, hey, this is a good day to do 7-on-7 because what we did on the field, cool. Let's match that as well. So players are always leading that through, and then after that, it's kind of just building into it. So in the beginning of the summer, we run 4 times a week, lift 4 times a week. Towards the end of the summer, the plan is this one is run 5 times a week, lift 3. Just got to vary it out and then just kind of figure out the needs as well. And again, having GPS prior, now getting it back, it's going to help me a lot. Just kind of figure out, hey, I can look at last year's fall camp. Cool. Now I can compare them to where they're at now.
Got you. You're looking to push a little bit more or pull back a little bit more compared to last
When it comes to
year's camp.
camp, so honestly, it just depends on. I got to make sure that I communicate and talk to the coaches of what's the first couple weeks of camp like, how many periods you go and all that stuff, and going from there. So if we're going into camp and they're saying, hey, we're going to push them hard that first couple weeks, well, I know in that summer I got to prepare them for those first couple weeks. So I got to make sure our volume's pretty similar to that. Because if not, they're not prepared. Therefore, soft tissue is going to happen. One thing what I'm blessed with is that this fall camp, of course, in the hot Texas heat, practicing, it got some kids. We had no soft tissues during camp. So with that, I felt extremely happy with how our preparation was. So again, I'm gonna look at last year's offseason in the summer. I'm gonna look at it and be like, what I like. There's gonna be a lot of things that I didn't like that I'm gonna pull back and I'm gonna continue to learn, read books, talk to other coaches, be like, hey, what can I add into it? Because again, it's all about the athletes. Can they be prepared for Saturdays? Can they make it through camp? Can they stay healthy? Can they stay fast? Can they stay strong?
Yeah, and that's a testament to you as a strength coach is availability. Player availability is the best way to do it, and to me that sounds like a successful strength coach. So, what are your strategies to prevent injury?
Yeah, I think like it's on the side. Football is a very, very violent game. Like there's gonna be things that are gonna happen. I think when it comes to preventing injuries, it's hard to like. Some years it will be you can have a strength coach. It could be the soft tissue side, and you're like, well, I sprinted, I did all this stuff. Well, what's the preparation? But it's also the side of the athlete as well. Are they getting enough sleep? Are they hydrating? Are they going into the training room when they need to? Are they doing the extra steps to make sure that they're prepared as well? So I think the biggest thing on my side right now is kind of continue to educate the athletes more about how important, yes, nutrition, yes, you gain weight, but dive deeper of why it's this important. Why hydration is this important? Because a dry muscle, let's be honest, it's going to be an injured muscle. So continue to push that education. And again, being advocates of anything. Hey, when we got downtime, especially during camp or whatever it is, come and do mobility. We will always do that. Hey, you got downtime? Cool. Guess what? Go to the training room, jump in the cold tubs, do something, Normatec, whatever it possibly is to make sure you feel better. Don't just, rest is the most important thing, sleeping and all that stuff. But you can't sleep the entire day away being a student athlete. Like, let's get up, let's move around too, because again, active recovery, I think, is the best recovery as well at times.
Yeah, you got to take care of your body. That's for sure. I saw where LeBron spends over $1 million on his body, and say what you want about him, but he's playing, still at 40.
No,
so
no, exactly.
So that's a good thing. And, you talk about your resources and everything. How do you stay updated on trends and research? Are you doing, obviously not the same thing every single year? What articles, coaches do you talk to? Just kind of talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when it comes to articles, I'm heavy looking into that about sprint mechanics, sprinting, hamstrings, all that stuff. Pretty much about just everything about sprinting when it comes to articles, like very heavy when it comes to clinical stuff. Besides that, I love
And where
talking
do you
shop.
look at? Is there like a website where you?
Honestly, like I'm just scroll like uh I just scroll or I just get like some strength coach be like, hey, I read this, send it. Like there's just random things that I will get. It's not even at times, or there's at times I'm just scrolling through Twitter, um, Instagram, and I see an article about like hamstring stuff, sprint mechanics, or all that stuff, or a video about it that attracts a specific person. I'm like, hey, let me listen to it, okay? Or hey, that name looks familiar, cool, okay, all this. So just staying on top of it, and then also books too. Like again, I probably like I got the system in my office. I read it every year, and I've read that book. I think it's at 8 times right now, maybe. Kind of lost count. Read it every year. Pick something else from it every year. Read APRE, okay, because I'm huge in the off season about training APRE when it comes to squats and bench. So huge into that. Hey, how can I dial that in, and also how can I use it for football as well? Um, so it's just constantly learning, and again, talking to coaches that are smarter than me. Because at times, guess what? I'm not the smartest strength coach. I'm just going to be the one that's going to work my butt off to continue to learn as much as I possibly can. Never be complacent. Always be able to learn as much as I can. So I'm going to try to talk to these coaches that been through the ringer. And at times, guess what? They're always going to say, hey, guess what? You're always going to continue to learn. I still don't know a thing, and I've been doing this for probably 20, 30 years. And it's always just, hey, guess what? And I always kind of stem down to like, hey, the basics work too.
For sure. And so, a couple more questions before we finish up. In your mind, what separates an average strength coach from a good strength coach to a great strength coach?
The rapport with your athletes. You can have the best program in the world, but if those athletes are not bought in, it does not matter. You could have the worst program in the world, but if those athletes will do anything for you, that program will jump through the roof. The rapport with your athletes, having the buy-in with you as a person is the most important thing. Like I think that's what separates you as a person in general in life. Um, but building that connection, like how I do it, is like at times, like, hey, if we have a hard day training, yeah, I'm gonna be yelling, I'm gonna be jumping up and down, I'm gonna act certain ways. But it's also the closing pitch is like I'm gonna mellow down. I'm gonna talk to you like a grown man, okay? Or if I'm talking to the females, like I'm gonna talk to you. So as an actual adult, and I'm gonna explain certain things why we did this. Hey, if something happened, this is why I did it. Hey, this is what it is. Then also with me, what I found out is me opening up about my past, how I grew up, and it sucked the first time I probably ever did it because again, you never want to hear the stories, be like, hey, damn, coach has been through some things. But
Yeah.
also, again, like if I'm able to relate to the athletes, I'm then they're gonna look at me like, hey, maybe I can come talk to coach if something's bugging me. That's all what matters. So it's just building that relationship with each and every athlete as much as you possibly can. And again, with the portal, again, you can have a kid for one and done who's there for 4 weeks before the summer because they got in late and they're going straight in. Well, I got to build that rapport as well. Figure out what they're like that they do. Okay, especially now kids are getting older, so they're gonna have some kids may be a parent, some kids may be married. So it's kind of just figuring out their certain things and then just being able to communicate with them at all times. Like I think the rapport right now and building that personal relationship builds everything out.
I like that. And so, what's your favorite memory to date as a strength coach?
Memory, honestly, and this is gonna sound really weird, but it happens every year. Um, it's the last game of the seniors, not because of them being emotional, them being sad. It's because I take myself out, and again, like I was with you for the time, however long it was, and like I feel your pain. But then I take my step back and I look at the people that are coming back and I see their faces of how I don't want to feel that. I want to kind of end on top. Okay. So I kind of take my step back and I just analyze the room, be like, see them care about the seniors that are done. I'm like, we were a family. Like, we care. Seeing them hug each other. But truly, like, if I had to say, like, if it's not happening every year, I'm going to say it was this year. Again, this is now year 5. This is the first time I was at a place. I got a freshman group, and they graduated out. There wasn't a lot of people, but I saw them from your freshman year, and that's when I was a GA. So we went up this together. Okay. When you were a sophomore, guess what? I was assistant. When you were a junior, guess what? I was in that transfer role of me becoming a full time assistant to the head. So they saw me grow and I saw them grow. So like our last game, like there's some of them I'm like, we did this together. I saw you from day one. I saw how you changed. I saw all this, your body, how you matured up, everything. I'm like, not that many coaches can say like I graduated a class out, especially with again the portal. I hate saying it, but like it's rare that you can have an athlete for their entire time while they were from freshman to senior year.
And I was going to ask, how many players you think came from the portal on your team? If you had to go throw a
I
percentage
have
out.
I have no idea. I kind of just lose track. I'm like, hey, we're in. It's time to work.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. So, what's one piece of advice you wish you knew when you were younger that you know now?
Always work like a volunteer. Right. Always continue. I had the mindset when again. This is probably when I was in high school. All this stuff, like when I was doing the things that shouldn't have been doing, is just the work ethic side. Continue, like always work like a volunteer because you don't know who can be watching. Someone can be watching outside and be like, they're working their butt off. Like no task here are different than what I will allow GAs will do. Like cool, if I tell you to scrub down some stuff, guess what? I'm gonna be doing that too. Okay. If I say, hey,
Lead by
let's take doc,
example.
yeah. So like I'm gonna no matter what, like there's nothing higher. There's no job higher than me. Like I'm not gonna make you do something that I'm not gonna do, or one that hey, if I gotta get you a different meeting. I've done all the stuff before too. So like I'm not gonna have you do stuff that again like I'm not gonna do. Won't ever be like that.
And what about any recommendations for resources? Any books, reads? What should
Yeah.
young coaches be doing now to get in the
I,
position you're in?
First off, the floor is the most important thing. What I mean by that, time on the floor. You learn, you coach, and you coach. All right. You're gonna remember in the beginning, like I looking at a binder right now from the first like my first internship. I keep that. Yeah, I got an electronic file, but I keep it printed off because I want to look at the programs from how far I adapted. I looked at those. I think it was last week. Excuse me, before I went to Christmas break. Looked at them like, what was I thinking? And I looked at some things. I'm like, this is actually really good. Why have I never went back to this? Like I was thinking of something. So when it comes to resources, like be on the floor, constantly learn, hit up other coaches, talk, talk shop, learn what they do. Because guess what? If you can take something from them, it's just building your toolbox as much as you possibly can. When it comes to books, me like the system, uh, starting strength by Mark Ripito, APRE, then any sprint stuff. Again, when it comes to sprinting, it's kind of just educating as much as I possibly can. Like I talked to when I was at again intern at Binghamton. Like I try to reach out to the sprints coach that when I was there, that's still there to like figure out sprinting. Like, can I learn more? Like, and if he looks at me, he's like, "No, you're on the right track," or he'd be like, "Hold up, wait a second. Like, you're doing stuff that you should not be doing." I'm like, "Cool. If you say that, I should not be doing that at all."
Yep.
So it's just honestly just continuing to learn and be humbled as much as you possibly can because I'm fine with just sitting back and just listening to people who are way smarter than me and be like, I'm just gonna sit back and be a fly on the wall.
And then lastly, any shout outs? Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Honestly, just everyone that kind of helped me in this field. I mean, they all know who they are. Like again, Don Day, me and him talk, and we talked probably last week. He probably when he's the reason why I started into strength and conditioning. I saw him probably 3, 4 conferences ago at the CSCCA, and I haven't seen him. That was the first time I saw him since Buffalo. And I go up to him like, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I went to University of Buffalo when you were there, and I just shadowed." And he looked at me. He's like, "Oh, I do remember you." He's like, "Where are you at now?" I'm like, "I'm a full time assistant." And he's like, "So that one day changed everything." And then again, all the staff at Binghamton University, uh, Coach McGovern, Lori Gleason, Bill Bacon, and then again, Dennis Kerstetter, then Josh Ergel. I mean, there's more people out there that I'm probably missing out, but I mean, it's just everyone that I've interacted with that helped me grow as a coach, but even more as a person.
That's great. Well, again, thanks, Coach, for coming on and sharing your knowledge about everything.
Now, I appreciate your time. Again, I get a little down period. I know the hecticness is about to spike up, but I know we're probably both re-energized and excited for that.
Yeah, I had to get you early. Thank you for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow us on Instagram for more updates at Under the Barbell Strength Podcast. And if you know someone who would love this episode, please share it with them.